And let's see, we're going to start off, of course, with looking at our build for the Shimakaze. So here we go. You are using the Type 93 torpedoes. Okay. If I remember right, those are the stock 20s.
Why?
They are.
Yes. Okay. So anyways, before we get too much into the discussion of the build, I suppose we should talk about the Shimakaze's characteristics and how you can play her, right? Most people like Shimakaze because she's got really good concealment and pretty good maneuverability. She's pretty fast, and of course with triple launchers, she's got the ability to just dump out a ton of torpedoes and what we like to call the wall of skill. Okay, you can select 3 different types of torpedoes on the ship. There's 20 kilometer, which is great for long range, like literally hitting stuff on the back of the map that don't think that they're going to be in danger. There's the 12s, which is kind of the most common. It's the best kind of mix between range and damage. And then the 8s, which are the quickest. Those are like if you want to do like an assassin build with the Shima. Most people go for the 12s. 20s are also viable. I actually ranked out with 8s one season just because I thought it'd be fun. And boy, was it fun. So she's very versatile in that regard. Did I forget anything, guys, about her characteristics? I mean, that's basically it in a nutshell, right?
Yeah. She's also extremely fast.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing to note.
Right. And her guns are good.
Due to her concealment. Yep. Guns fire a bit slowly, but the alpha damage that they have is very solid.
I wouldn't call her extremely fast, but
okay,
she is decent fast.
She's extremely fast. Well, for torpedo though, she is very fast. So.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into the build then that Cookie is using. We already discovered he's using the 20 kilometer torpedoes, and then for upgrades, you've got main armaments mod 1, engine room protection, torpedo tubes modification 1, steering gears, concealment mod, and then torpedo tubes modification 2. Why steering gears? I don't feel like this is a good idea. I think propulsion is your better choice.
Yeah,
propulsion always on destroyers. Like, not like, unless it's like Kaba, in which case it's like, okay. But, yeah.
Yeah, the steering gears doesn't really do anything.
I mean, I get that she's long, but look at the difference in speed. You're talking about literally 0.4 seconds faster rudder shift time. 0.4 seconds. I don't know. Personally,
the length of the ship has nothing to do with the rudder shift.
No, but what they're saying is for...
It affects the turning circle, but
Go ahead.
The rudder shift mod doesn't make your turning circle any better.
No. But I think what they're trying to get at, though, is because the ship is so long, and it makes it a little bit easier maybe to dodge shells because of how long the ship is, you can kind of turn in sooner-ish. But, I don't know, Patton. I still think propulsion is your better choice. That's just me, but I would go propulsion here. Or, with subs in it if you want, you could go depth charges and get away with that too, frankly. But I don't think you need the extra point whatever seconds of rudder shift, in my opinion. Now, one thing I do want to mention too is going torpedo tubes is great for dumping out as many torpedoes as possible, but you run the risk of torpedo tubes becoming more incapacitated. So you almost have to run main armaments mod 1 in slot 1, which is fine. An alternate is the unique upgrade. And this is one of those unique upgrades that actually a lot of people like to use. You're going to laugh. I used it when I did that ranked battle season with 8 kilometer torpedoes. I went with this upgrade, which sounds silly.
It's great.
But
it's amazing.
The thing about this is you get 25% torpedo reload. Compare that to the standard, which is 15. So you pump out torpedoes even faster. The difference, though, is that it takes forever for your torpedo launchers to turn. It's almost like a battleship when you're turning your torpedoes. So you have to choose one side and keep it that way.
It
But
turns about as quickly as your guns turn if you take it.
right,
It's
exactly.
very similar. It used to be worse, by the way. This upgrade eventually got buffed. It used to be minus 80%.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
And it used to be it was always a 25% boost.
mhm. So I would say that's if you like the Shimakaze, that's a consideration. If you don't like the Shimakaze, I wouldn't spend the research points on it. But just want to put that out there. All right, Captain Cookie, is this a special captain or is it a standard captain? There's only two captain's choices here. Now, Yamamoto does help prevent your torpedo tubes from breaking. That is one thing that's nice about it. The Suzuki's, by contrast, have buff survivability expert, which also comes in very handy for Japanese destroyers. It's a weeb captain, so it's a standard. Got it. Okay. So you've got flood chance with liquidator, into last stand, into fill the tubes, concealment, adrenaline rush. Oh, and then you went swift fish, survivability. Okay.
You don't need the liquidator on those torps.
I was going to mention that. I think you're far better off going preventative maintenance in the
Yeah.
Shimakaze. You don't
You
want your
definitely-
torpedo tubes to be destroyed.
Exactly.
And your engines, of course, if you're running away from somebody. So,
The rule of thumb is a bit like, you look at the flooding chance of your torpedoes, like you need to do it in an app like this, like the in-game doesn't tell you.
right
But
there.
if it's above 300%, you don't really need liquidator.
Okay.
If it's below 300, you can consider taking it,
Uh-huh.
but it's still not a must.
Okay.
Floods are floods. If you ask me, floods are floods. Like if you get those, then it's cool. I'm more concerned about. Did you actually hit the torpedoes in the first place? Because torpedo damage not only is it very high, it's treated as citadel damage, which means whatever target you hit, you can only repair. Well, it depends, on the ship, obviously, but for the most
Yeah.
part, you can only repair 10% of that damage. There are certain exceptions, like say, ships with improved heals, which will have improved improved citadel recovery coefficients. But
Right.
yeah,
Now, the big thing, though, is let's say you do get one hit. You're probably going to cause a flood. If you do, they're probably going to DCP that flood immediately. So the point I'm trying to get at here is that extra flood chance is kind of meaningless unless you're able to follow up with an additional torpedo hit some 10 to 20 seconds later, or 30 seconds if it's an American like battleship, for example. So in my opinion, that's relatively rare. Yes, you could follow up with a fire as well as in Boto, that is true. Of course, there's always a chance that whatever you're trying to hit with your torpedoes, DCPs first and all that. But what I'm trying to say is, I think preventative maintenance is going to be far more useful for you to stay alive and be able to keep your torpedoes going. I saw somebody at chat saying, I never see my torpedoes go away in the Shimakaze. That's absolutely a possibility. However, it's always one of those things where it's not a problem until it becomes a problem.
So pretty much never miss out a flood by not having liquidator. Like if you hit the bow or the stern, you're guaranteed the flood with those torpedoes, unless the DCP is running. And if you hit the midsection, you're most likely gonna hit more than torpedoes if you hit the torpedo belt.
Right.
So one of them is very, very likely to get the bow or the stern as well.
Okay.
It might not be with the 20s though. If you hit them actually at 20 kilometers, then the gap might be wide enough that you really only hit one.
So I think
it's also more of the fact that I should emphasize, the 20 kilometers on the Shimakaze are probably the worst out of the three options, because it's not just they're rarely ever used. I mean, I can't think of a reason why you would, because the problem is that not only are they slower on average, but they also have probably the worst detection range. They have the worst detection range of pretty much any torpedo in the game outside of homing torps. 2.5 kilometers. So you're gonna spot them from a mile away. It's like probably also the worst reaction time of any torpedoes in the game.
It was like 13 seconds shown here, and that was with the swift fished. Like it's
so it's like 14.3 base reaction time. It is not good.
Right.
So
but
that's
you're still
a thing to consider.
You're still gonna get hits with those from people that are in the backfield not paying attention, or people that are stuck in turns and that sort of thing. You're gonna drop the swift fish, and you can see the difference in reaction time. Look, the 20s are fine to use, but I think we all agree that 12s are going to be the better pick. When you become more comfortable with the Shima, consider going up to those 12s. Now, you were talking about your other skills: preventative maintenance, grease the gears, priority target. Here's my problem with that. If you're in a Shimakaze, if you're detected, you're going to be shot at. Okay? So Destroyer is one of those classes where I actually don't recommend priority target, because like stealthy ones, because if you're detected, you're being shot at. You just have to accept that and plan accordingly. Same reason why incoming fire alert isn't that helpful in a destroyer, a stealth destroyer. Now, gun feeder, or grease the gears, I should say, could be useful, of course, if you get into a situation where you are surprised by an enemy. I want to mention something first, though, and that is, instead of using grease the gears, I would recommend trying to get radiolocation on this build. If you can get radiolocation on this build, then you turn your guns in the direction that radiolocation is pointing at. In other words, your guns are pre-turned. They're ready to go. You aren't surprised by an enemy ship that just randomly appears, because you know which direction to point your guns. That's far more useful than grease the gears is going to be.
You can have both, by the way. You just drop the swift fish, take the 12s, and then you have the points for grease the gears and the radiolocation.
Alternatively, you could also, this is the cardinal sin of destroyers not taking survivability expert, but you could also drop SC and take
no.
You can take SIS.
No.
I agree. I wouldn't take that.
I know
you can't do this not on a destroyer that has the decent guns like the Shime has and has a smoke. I can see this, and I do it myself on the Yugumo and the Kagero if you run torpedo reload booster, but not on the Shime.
Doing the superintendent.
And you never want to take Swift in silence without also taking radiolocation, because you need it to protect yourself.
So the problem with doing that is,
can't get spotted if you. Yeah, you can't afford, you have to drop stuff like Adrenaline Rush to get there, and again,
then
you
don't
want
to
do
like
this on a Shime.
Yeah, I mean, you could.
That's kind of a weird way to do
it. That is my Yugumo build, but I would never run this on a Shime.
Yeah, I think.
I never used SIS. It's just an alternative. I mean, I never use SIS unless I'm just memeing around. But your standard build. If you want to run an RDF, sure, but you kind of just want to build full into torpedoes, and then just use whatever points you have left. I mean, as I think Zath, remember from a long time ago when I played Fubuki, right? I gave you that Fubuki replay. I stayed undetected pretty much the entire game. That's kind of the trick. You want to stay undetected as long as possible.
Yeah. Now,
in a torpedo DD.
The problem is that, of course, things have changed. Carriers are more pervasive. There's more planes out there. Subs are in the game now, and subs can absolutely detect at a closer range. So, honestly, I feel like, if you want to run the 20s, whatever, run the 20s. Are you going to notice a difference with Swiftfish versus not in the 20s? No. As a matter of fact, it actually might work out better in your favor than not have those faster torpedoes, because they are alive for longer, which I know sounds kind of weird to think about, but with Swiftfish, that means that they get to their range, their target range, faster. So if you're going to run 20s as area denial, leave them off, leave them slow, and let people just smash right into them by accident. So I think we although agree the 12s are going to be the better pick. Anyways, Cookie, this is what I think is going to be your better build moving forward. If you ever get a chance with a free respec or something, I would consider doing that. I don't think that you need, Swift Fish. You definitely don't need Liquidator. But it's up to you, man. And no signals. You're going naked. Sorry, Grunty, go ahead.
I was about to say that 12s also even have a higher flooding chance, so...
They're just the best overall source.
Alright, so let's go ahead and let's get to the replay and check it out. Stream Raiders is ready to go, so I'm going to run that off stream. Also, I've been delaying ad breaks, trying to snooze them, and unfortunately, we're talking, we're having good conversation, so y'all might get stuck watching an ad break at some point. I apologize if that's the case. I'm going to try not to let that happen. Why is this thing... There we go. Okay. I think we're good to go. So let's take a look at the matchmaking lineup here. There are carriers. There are 2 subs. This is Northern Waters. You're on the extreme flank. This is actually good for you in the Shimakaze.
It's definitely better to be on the A cap than on the C cap. That's for sure.
And on the flank, but yeah, right. Alright, let's restart the Stream Raiders battle. And you can see the immense range that you have with those 20s. That absolutely allows you to just keep dumping torpedoes in areas that you think enemies are going to go to. That's how you play those 20s. It's not, I see a target, I'm going to lock on it, and then fire along the white line. It's, I think a target's going to go this way. Oof.
The issue I have with it, is... It takes... They're rather slow. It takes forever to actually get to these things, though. And the reload is too long, too, for spamming them as pure area denial tools.
Okay. One thing that I would say is if you're going to use air denial, you don't want to use all 3 at once like a wall of skill. You could, but you're almost better off using them in one spot. So like the typical cruiser spot on the south end of that island south of A is absolutely where I would dump my torpedoes, right? And yes, we look at that planes already. Sure. Now, another place that you could dump torpedoes is actually right down the 1 line. You can see the Preußen's already heading that way. And you got a Schlieffen coming this way too. Your torpedoes are on cooldown, or are ready, so I would absolutely launch at least 1 rack right now, wait 30 seconds, launch another, wait 30 seconds, launch the 3rd, or you could hold the 3rd in case you absolutely need it, but with 20s, you're better off dumping them into the water as much as possible. I would not move past this island here.
No, I would also not be that close to the border because, the enemy know you're there. You got spotted by the CV. You're denying yourself room to maneuver.
I would honestly have been on the inside of that island, to start, because now it's like a free turn back, and you can kind of just double back on it if you need to.
Well, so A just got capped, so I think the other question is who capped over there? Ragnar and U-2510 or whatever, 2501, Druid have all been spotted. It's the sub. And
that is in fact a dead sub. Very short.
Hopefully it's a dead sub. You would hope it's a dead sub, but the most important thing is it's not a destroyer. It's something that could sink down. If you went into A, what I'm trying to get at is if you had gone into A, you could have possibly had an impact there as well.
I don't understand why you're still charging. You already dumped your torp load.
He was getting greedy for the Preußen and the Marseille down there, and
yeah, but he doesn't even have the torp. The torps aren't even ready.
They're ready in a minute. Just looking at the timer. No, well, they'll be ready in just over a minute. And unfortunately, it looks like this Schlieffen doesn't know what torpedoes are.
Botanica, take care. Thanks for hanging out. No, he does, but this is what I was just talking about with the torpedoes. You catch people in turns with these 20-kilometer torpedoes. If it was 12-kilometer torpedoes, would you have gotten that kill? Maybe he was
Yes.
close enough.
I think so. Probably.
But I
I
understand
still
what
don't like
he-
this play.
I understand what he's trying to do, though, right? He's trying to get into the backfield, where into an area where the enemy probably isn't considering him a threat.
This is way too risky.
It is extremely risky because the carrier's out there. Now, if you look at the carrier, he's looking for you. And he's actually looking in the wrong space, which is great for you. He gave up. He went away. So that's actually really good for you. You're going to be able to continue to dump torpedoes into the sides of things. Yeah, you're not going to torpedo a kiting Marsilli with torpedoes. That's correct. Do not do what you just did. Did you see what you guys did?
No.
Everybody else probably saw that. What did he do, Shockwave?
The classic blunder. He unlocked, he switched his torpedoes, fired the torpedoes, and switched back to the guns. And what does that do, ladies and gentlemen? Triggers priority targets.
So if the Marseille has priority target, it went from 1 to 0 back up to 1 again. It just told him that somebody fired torpedoes at him.
Yeah. If the Marseille is paying attention, which unfortunately he doesn't look to be, then but now he is. Now he's paying attention. He's turning.
He's not. He's not. He's kiting away from the Kurfürst and Guten Liu and stuff. He doesn't. He's not even considering this until now. Now the torpedoes are spotted. Yep.
Now that 13-second reaction time, really biting. See,
Well,
this is where the balls are so much better because, yeah, balls have been so much better because now that Port Marseille wouldn't have had as much time to react.
This is true. Now, one thing to note: Immelmann is coming your way. Preußen is heading away. Immelmann actually might run into those torpedoes, even though they're spotted. Marseille got off lucky, yes. I like the fact,
he's lucky that the Marseille isn't just charging him now, because if he counted, that was 15 torpedoes.
So that was something else I was just going to mention is that the Marseille is very, very, very focused on what's going on at A. He's not considering the torpedoes at all, and as a result, he doesn't charge you. If he does charge you, look, you hit the Immelmann. It's almost like what I was just talking about, right? That's the thing about the 20s, is that people think that they're not in danger, and they completely ignore torpedoes. Anyways, yeah, you're very lucky the Marseille didn't just say, "Oh, hey, something's on the border. Let me charge it with my hydro active," because then you're dead. Now that said, the carrier is using his brain.
The Immelmann actually knows the carrier is actually paying attention, so now you get detected again.
You actually might as well use your guns while he's in range. You're detected anyway, who cares?
Well, yeah, but now it's like gun detection bloom, and all of a sudden the Marseille's paying attention. And
yeah, but
look
you know
where
what?
the last known of the enemy Shimakaze is, right?
But you know what? He can also smoke up if necessary. But you're right. Shima has been detected at that island. All right, there you go, smoking up.
As in fact, is that a secondary build?
I was just gonna say, look at the range of those secondaries in the Immelmann. He's secondary built.
Yeah.
I don't like that you peeked out of your smoke there. Also, guns. Never mind. You don't have the range.
Want to talk about torpedoes not getting knocked out? By the way, your torps were knocked out.
Mm-hmm. Why did he need to smoke up, Patton? I don't think he did. I think he could have waited. I think he could have waited until the Shimakaze got involved.
And then smoked.
The problem with smoking up,
I would not risk not smoking up against an Immelmann.
My problem is that
because bombers are lethal. Like,
I mean, this Immelmann is probably bad, which helps, but
here's the deal. Here's my thinking. Here's my thinking on this. One, I wouldn't have turned in towards him. I would have turned out away towards the border, towards the one line. But in any case, I want to know where his planes are gonna strike me from. That whole time you're in that smoke, what the Immelmann should have done, is launch torpedo bombers and just kept torping into your smoke. He didn't do that, so you got kind of lucky there.
Well, the Immelmann found you again.
I mean, the Immelmann can absolutely smack a shimmy for 10k per drop with the skip bombs. No problem.
Yeah. I've done it. I've done it before. It is remarkably easy.
I would not risk that.
But wouldn't you rather also be maneuvering so that you can dodge instead of in a situation where you come out sideways, stuck?
I mean,
you know,
I wouldn't be in this position to begin with because I wouldn't go in the backline in my shimmy.
Okay. I mean, frankly, I think the way that he played that is fine. To me, that makes sense. But
there's your submarine friend.
Yeah, you're gonna ram him.
No, he's gonna.
Oh! Whoa! 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 He chose death.
Good dodge. Indeed. That's gonna hurt.
And double oh my god,
Ooh.
Cookie.
Well, talk about a stroke of luck.
Simpozo says,
right.
Let me correct myself. I rarely get my torpedoes destroyed. Whatever.
That was absolutely horrible Immelmann.
Hey, you know what?
That was.
It worked, and does it matter if it works? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yes. Because okay, look, as Jingles, Jingle says, if it's stupid but it works, it's not stupid.
That's what I'm saying.
But it's still stupid.
Jingles is wrong.
Sometimes luck is better than skill. Bucket, good to see you again, by the way. And you're right.
Yeah. Sometimes being lucky is better than being actually good at the game. Which is probably why watching my replays is so boring, because I do something everything so methodically. It's kind of just whatever.
So, this is something that I've been talking to people a lot about. When people send me their best games and replays and stuff like that, there's not much to talk about. It's boring because everything is being done right. Oh, look, hey, you're going there. Okay, cool. I would also go here. Okay, But when we have replays like this, Commander Skills, we spent some time talking about it. Moving on, and then looking at the torpedoes. If he had those 12-kilometer torpedoes, he probably would have hit more torps on the Marseille. The Schlieffen died anyway, so that didn't really matter. And that's it. So, going with the 20s, he actually trades out more torpedo hits on the Marseille in favor of more torpedo hits on the carrier in this particular game. Kind of interesting to think about that.
Plus, it's always good comedy fun watching people run into Shima 20s, despite the fact that they're spotted from orbit. It is funny. Like, come on.
How many of the torps were actually hit outside of the 12-kilometer range, though?
None of them.
Of the
8? I think maybe one on the Immelmann. The first one that hit the Immelmann would not have been there if it was a 12. Everything else, I think, was within 12.
I don't know. The last couple that hit the Immelmann, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at it. Dingle says two things depending on the situation. If it's stupid but it works, it's not stupid. Or if it's still stupid but you got lucky.
No, he's absolutely right.
Are you going? You told me there was a death pick in this.
He's running right at the Preußen. You can take a guess where that's going to come from.
Well, yeah, I'm surprised Cookie's not reacting to that. Your torpedoes are available soon. You should absolutely be getting into setup for that. There you go.
He's tunnel visioning on the Ragnar. I don't think he realized how close the Preußen was.
Oh, right. And now you're YOLOing into Preußen's Hydro range. And then, again, here's where the 20s don't matter. Good. Okay, cool. If we get this quickly enough. Yes!
That was way too late. Like, you saw it, and And you decided, oh, let's go closer for like 10 more seconds.
Right?
Nah, I would have turned out like 20 seconds earlier.
Of course. But you didn't,
You
and
forgot
Cookie
it's German.
didn't.
Look, you got
It's
spotted by its Hydra.
Cookie.
You would have been spotted no matter what, even if there was no Hydra. So you were that close.
You were very close, Cookie. You were very close. But you did get them, you did get the torps off. Let's see if I can't get a screenshot with you firing your torpedoes.
My problem, okay, as far as fundamentals go, you broke all the fundamental rules with that Preußen engagement. 1, don't get too close. 2, know your target. You know Preußen is German, it's going to have a 6-kilometer hydro because every single tier 10 German ship, except the Schlieffen that has hydro, will be 6-kilometer hydro. C-52 has it, C-42 has it, Preußen has it, Hindenburg has it, Kurfürst has it. There you go.
Let's try something like this. A little bit farther back. Almost looks like there's fireworks over you, so that's kind of fun.
But you know what's gonna be the funny spot? I bet you one of those torps are gonna hit.
Of course.
They do.
You're so close.
Actually.
It's not gonna matter what happens with the, Not gonna matter what happens, right, with the other stuff. Ad is in progress. Okay, I couldn't take it out in time. Sorry, guys.
Like you said earlier, you played it like you had 12-kilometer torps. You played it like you had 8-kilometer torps.
This particular engagement, yes. So, what are we gonna title this one, guys?
Sometimes it's better to make your luck. Sometimes luck works, I guess. I don't know. I can't think of anything because this was just weird, champ.
Okay.
Is your team actually losing this?
It's 2-on-2 now. Malta and Sub versus Ragnar and Sub. So that's another consideration, is you really needed to live there. Let's go ahead and fast forward and see what happens. Kato dies, but the Malta kills the Ragnar. Malta needs to get into a cap, but he's too busy to sitting there, so now he has to somehow kill the Sub. Actually, he can just W towards the Sub and be fine. He's fine on points anyways, actually. I think about it. Malta does get the auto ASW. There it is. Sub versus CV is the ultimate AI battle. Yes. Alright, so here's your result screens. 142k damage. 4 kills. You came in first.
Wow.
So we completely trashed your play, and you came in first.
Can you go back to the go back to the detailed?
Yeah. What are we looking at?
We're looking at the destroyed modules.
Uh-huh. And you're trying to make the point for preventative maintenance.
Yeah, I do.
Not bad. Not trashed, just helpful info. I mean, I would hope that, and Cookie's been hanging out enough, he knows that we're not trashing his replay and saying he's garbage or anything like that. We all know that, right? So...
Wait, we all know that we're not doing that, or we all know that he is?
We all know that he's not garbage, and we all know that he's doing the best he can, Grunty. What are you talking about? Anyways, look, you got 2 or 3 torpedoes, in my opinion. We'd have to go back and look, but 2 or 3 extra torpedoes because of the 20s. Here it didn't matter. Here it didn't matter.
Full dash the element. That's good.
Here it didn't matter. And here it didn't matter. So the only real cause or case where those 20s were important in this game was the element port. That's it.
I don't think you can phrase it this way. Because the 12s also has more damage. Like, if those torpedoes fired at the Marseille, for example, were 12s, he might have
Uh-huh.
gotten the kill on the Marseille.
Was he that low health
Because
after the hits? Maybe,
it's not only
yeah.
the were low health, the Marseille would have spotted them much later. So like the Marseille was able to turn and only take one. If he spots him later, he might take two or
So,
three.
my read of that particular part of the battle is that he was already turning anyways. So
No, he wasn't. He wasn't.
okay.
You were even saying that during the replay that Marseille is not paying attention, is going straight line.
Yeah.
Well,
but no.
right. So what
the
I'm
reason
saying
why
is
he
he's
didn't-
looking
he
at
didn't
the battle at A.
Yeah.
Let's watch.
I think the best thing I can take out of this was literally just a case of Shimakaze W all the way down the border. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like this. Like you got caught out early by the CV. Like the whole enemy team
they
should
already
have
know
known you're there, and they just ignored you for way too long.
I mean, this is EU though, isn't it?
Yep. But it doesn't matter what server it is. I mean, EU, NA,
Yeah.
people still do these stupid things. So there goes to Sleefen.
These torpedoes would have hit if they were 12s.
Yep.
That was in range.
Now, look at the Marseille. He is very, very, very engaged in what's going on at A. Here's your torpedoes. His hydro is off. See, I don't think he reacted to the torpedoes as much as he was already planning on making a turn.
I think he reacted to the torpedoes.
If his hydro is on, I could see that argument.
Even without the hydro, that was like, I think that was pretty much the 2.5 kilometer distance when he reacted. I think they
Unfortunately, my mod that shows if torpedoes are spotted or not does not work in replays. It would be very, very helpful if it did. Anyways, there's your torpedo hit on the Imamon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
that
here's
Imamon
my
torpedo
idea.
hit would have probably not hit with the 12s.
Yeah. Here's my title for this one. Better to be lucky. Just better lucky than good. I'll say.
Kind of has a negative connotation.
It's a negative connotation, but it's accurate to an extent, I guess. Or actually, better way of wording that. Sometimes it's good to be lucky. Does that work?
You want to make a Baldur's Gate reference? You could call it just net 20.
Call it what, 20?
Net 20. Natural 20.
It's a D&D reference.
Like you get a lucky roll because you rolled a 20 and he's using 20 kilometer torps.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, net 20.
Nat 20.
Nat 20 and AT?
NAT, yeah. For
NAT.
natural.
Yeah, natural 20. That's
Okay.
kind of funny, actually, now you think about it.
All right, thank you, Grunty. Cookie, are there any other questions to ask for us as we've talked through this? You said this is my game coming back to Shima after a month of Jaeger. Don't play the Shima like you play Jaeger. Oh my god.
Here's the thing though, like
No,
if you
I do
played
not.
Jaeger for so long and you're used to the 12s. From
Why
the
did you go back to the
why
20s?
why are you using 20 on the Shimmer?
It should also, here's the other thing though, Grunty, it should also engender some habits about playing torpedo destroyers, right?
Huh?
Like, knowing when to, not always keeping your torpedoes locked on, then, fire your torpedoes so you don't your priority target, staying undetected, knowing where to go to optimize your torpedo lanes, so on and so forth.
Mhm.
And this kind of didn't show it. I mean, not saying that you played, really poorly or anything, just that there's a lot of fundamental mistakes that you made that could have very easily been avoided. And I'm a little bit surprised that you didn't avoid those mistakes. after playing Jaeger for a whole month.
Well, and frankly, I mean, there's a lot of things the enemy could have done differently too to taking you out. Marseille being the one big one.
If I was that enemy Immelmann here and I see the Shimmer alone on this flank only together with a Schlieffen, you bet that I'm just going for that Shimmer.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm going
absolutely.
I'm going for the Shimmer too.
100%, I agree.
I would force you to waste your smoke. Yeah, I would have forced you to waste your smoke charges, and then you just perma-spot him. And I'm going to kill you in 3 drops at most, because Immelmann skip arms are absolutely stupid. Because, oh yes, let's make it so that we have a midway drop that actually hits its target all the time, right?
Right.
Because that's what the Immelmann skips are. They hit so consistently and so reliably.
If the if you get the broadside, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this filthy. Like 14k fit plus double fires every time, even on battleships and cruisers. It's just good, reliable damage.
Okay, so I guess at this point, then we'll hang this up and say thank you very much to Cookie for sending the replay in. Marseille could have killed you easily. Sub could have killed you easily. CV could have. Yeah, that's the thing, Cookie. Exactly.
Yeah.
So hey, whatever. It's a good game. It's a fun replay. Yeah.
They didn't, which is good for you. But like, it's just maybe in the future, like that early in the game, probably not worth taking the risk going that far up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is a case of, I mean, I had a game in Salem where I pressed W the entire way, but that was because I was paying attention to my surroundings. And so that was 266,000 damage and 6 kills.
Okay.
This didn't seem overly coordinated, if you ask me.
Right.
But hey, you won, so.
That's right. Okay, so here's